Hello, Hatboro-Horsham. I'm Scott Eveslage, Superintendent of Schools here for the Hatboro-Horsham School District. As students have been transitioning to the remote model to a hybrid model, we've been working diligently over the last few months to make sure that the program is both instructionally sound, meaningful for students, and safe for all participants in our school community. So we thought it would be beneficial for us to have an opportunity to talk to our school principals at all three levels, at the elementary level, high school level, the middle school level, just to get a sense of what the school experience will be for students upon their return. I'm here at Keith Valley Middle School with Principal Jon Kircher. Mr. Kircher, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure, thanks Dr. Eveslage.
One of the things that you always strive for here at Keith Valley is building a sense of community. Can you talk a little bit about what the school has done since the beginning of the year in virtual instruction that have contributed to building a sense of community here at Keith Valley?
So obviously with the pandemic, it's changed a lot of things, but that's always been front and center for us, is to build the community at Keith Valley, build the capacity for students to be seen as people, and to really value social and emotional connections. And so pre-pandemic, we had a very strong advisory program. What we've done now is we've moved that advisory element into our homerooms, and we focused a lot of training over the summer with teachers to really focus their skills in engaging students and really working on developing connections between each other in the virtual environment. So we're doing weekly lessons in homeroom on social emotional learning, and we're hoping to continue to do that as we move into the hybrid.
A great element about middle school is teaming. So we try to group our students with a group of peers and a group of common teachers that they share throughout the year, and there's many benefits to that. What will the school do to make sure that the essence of teaming is maintained as we transition from a fully remote model to a hybrid model?
Having our schedule based on teams, or teams be the root of the schedule, has been the key to our success. It's going to help us moving from virtual into the hybrid environment, where we're going to hopefully keep the students together with their teams and maintain those connections that have been so strong.
So how has the staff and the teachers, how have they been preparing for this transition to hybrid?
So I sent an email to the staff. We had an extensive training on Wednesday, thanking them for their efforts, because when you look back at March, you look at the idea of an emergency situation moving to the asynchronous, then building the synchronous capacity. Over the summer, we moved and we trained and really focused on the synchronous idea through virtual, and we're going to do it again now in hybrid. So we've begun to look at how a class can exist, in a synchronous way while students are in person and while the students are at home, and really work to engage both times. What we're working on is bringing some experts in. We have some folks coming in early November in talking about how to engage students not only who are at home, but also in front of you inside the classroom in this modified environment. But it's going to be nice to see students face to face again with teachers.
I know the staff is really excited to see students again. When they return to us, even in a hybrid form, the day will look a little bit different. Talk to us a little bit about what the students can expect to see on a typical day when they return.
Well, they're going to see a school that's ready to have, and we're ready to have them back. We've been working on creating social distance in all classrooms, and looking at what our hybrid numbers look like. We're going to be able to, looking with the numbers, have students who eat lunch, they'll eat lunch socially distanced in the cafeteria. If we have to use bigger rooms such as the LGI and the auditorium, we'll use those as well. During passing time, when we have the hybrid students in, we're going to have students move through the hallways one team at a time on each grade level. So while if you think about it, only half of the students would be in at hybrid at the most, if you take a quarter of that by grade level, you're talking about 40 students moving in the hallways. Unfortunately, we won't be able to use lockers this year, but only a small amount of students who see each other during the day will be moving at any given time. And we'll do that all throughout the day when they go to lunch, as well as when they're moving from their creative arts or their PE classes. We won't have one-way hallways per se, but we will have clear markings on the floor, and we'll have staff members throughout the hallway encouraging students to stay 6 feet apart as well.
And you mentioned lunch. Obviously, a time of the day when you have a lot of students gathering, typically there's some particular challenges around social distancing. Talk us through what lunch will look like.
So lunch is going to look different than a normal lunch. Normally at Keith Valley, you have 400 students feeding in 30 minutes or less. Only the military does that faster than us. What we'll be doing now is looking for keeping those numbers under 130, as that's the maximum we could have in with maintaining the social distance in the cafeteria. We'll be doing grab-and-go style lunches, either hot lunches or cold lunches, where students who don't bring lunches, they'll go and they'll sit in a seat. We will have to assign seats at lunch this year. just so we can monitor who's sitting around who, just in the event of contact tracing. And then we're going to be limiting the numbers of students in the bathroom, and we'll have staff monitoring those numbers in and out as well.
And what about masking? We've heard about students wearing masks upon their return. Talk to us a little bit about what that will look like.
In following the district's safety plan, masks for all students and staff at all times will be required while you're inside Keith Valley. Obviously, if you're eating lunch, you can take your mask off because we can again, do the social distancing pieces. We're going to work with our teams to build into their schedules during the day the idea that they could take a mask break, whether or not the students can, go outside for, a few minutes, or whether it happens in the classroom at the social distance piece. We're also not going to require masks during extensive PE classes as long as they're outside. If they're inside, we'll ask students to wear masks.
And when students return to the building, they'll see different signage around the building that will help steer them in a particular direction and offer some guidance. What can students expect to see from a signage perspective?
So you'll be able to see plenty of signs on the wall asking about proper hand washing, hygiene. We focused on even in different languages for those. And we're working to maintain the social distance on the floor, so you'll see floor markings throughout the building as well.
Mr. Kircher, you're a parent yourself. You are a principal at Keith Valley. You were one time a student in this very building. You have a really unique perspective. How can that perspective be helpful in providing some advice to families and to students upon their return? What are some advice you have for them?
So that's a great question, and I've spoken to many families in the last 2 weeks about their choice, whether it's hybrid or virtual, and I have used what I've learned as a dad to my job here as building principal at Keith Valley. First off, we've learned what other districts have done well. We've also learned what other districts haven't done well, and we've built those into the plans to avoid some of those problems. The idea is flexibility, and I'd be remiss if I said that school is not going to be exactly like what it was pre-COVID. But you have to know that we're doing the best we can with designing the programs and designing the idea to welcome students back in and make it the most welcoming place possible.
Well, Mr. Kircher, thank you for your time. I appreciate your willingness to spend some time and talk through this, but also I'm thankful for the time that you and your staff have invested in ensuring that we have a safe and meaningful return. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eveslage, and thank you for your outstanding leadership through this pandemic.
Families, just wanted to remind you to please check the website regularly for updates on our return to school, health metrics, and other important information as the school reopening. I want to thank you for your partnership, for your communication, and for your flexibility. I wish you a successful school year. Thank you.